Hi, my name is Arianne Robinson, and I am so excited to be speaking with Dion Taylor and Joel Schwartz about the productions of songs they co-wrote on Spirits in the Water. We're going to get into how the singer-songwriter and producer relationship works, but first, a bit about each of them. Regina-born singer Dion Taylor came to Toronto to attend Humber Jazz and quickly made a mark, receiving the college's Thomas Kehoe Memorial Award for Outstanding Vocal Performance. And a year after graduating with honors from the program, she released the Juno nominated album, Open Your Eyes, in 2004. Not bad for a new graduate. Dion has performed for some real big deal audiences, including at the White House for George Bush, the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, Joni Mitchell, Robbie Robertson, and more. What else? Dion was the recipient of the Governor General Performing Arts Awards Mentorship Program in 2009 and has been celebrated with a Gemini nomination for her rendition of Oscar Peterson's Hymn to Freedom, which she performed alongside Oliver Jones at the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame Gala. In 2020, she released Spirits in the Water, in which she calls her prairie blues style. The album recently was not won a Blues Album of the Year from Blues and Roots Radio, and it has been nominated for a Juno. She'll find out about the awards in May. Dion joins us tonight from her home in Toronto. Hi, Dion.
Hey, nice bio. It almost sounds fake, doesn't it? Hey, Joel.
And
Hello.
and next is Joel. He's a guitarist, multi instrumentalist, and award winning producer. His production work is focused on helping folk, Americana, blues, and indie rock musicians produce records remotely. Joel has toured and/or recorded with Birds of Chicago, Amelia Curran, Jessica Mitchell, and many others. The recordings he's produced have won or been nominated for numerous awards, and Joel joins us tonight from his studio in Toronto. Joel, thanks for setting this up.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here, everybody. Great to talk to you.
Yeah. Have you done any live stream conversations like this yet, Dion?
I've done a few, yeah, but this is the first one that I'm doing that's with Joel, so that's really fun. I know that we talked about doing something like this before, and so I'm glad that we're finally getting a chance to do
Totally. Yeah.
Cool.
it.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Dion, congratulations on the album. What
Thank
went
you.
through your head when you found out it had been nominated for a Juno?
I said, thanks, universe. You can ask Joel. Like when we were writing this album, and the first time that I heard it from start to finish, I said, "This is gonna get a Juno, definitely." And I put it out there in the universe, and not to brag, but I am a firm believer of putting things out into the universe and intentions. And all the best intentions went into the making of this record. All the best people who played on the record, like it's just the perfect album for right now. So I was
That's
excited.
I love that. And it's true. I can confirm, like, honestly,
Yeah.
if Dion had said that during the process, I think it would have scared the crap out of me. But, she said it with just such confidence after,
Yeah.
like, the album was produced, mixed, mastered, it was done. And she was
Yeah.
like, this is going to the Junos. And I was like,
Yep.
damn, I love
I
that.
said it.
well, the two of you had worked together before in 2015 on Born Free, and Joel played on that album. But for Spirits in the Water, Joel, you came on to co-write and produce most of the songs. So what did you set out to do? What was your intention?
Yeah, so it's a great question. With the previous album, like I had come on kind of at the end of it, and I've known Dion for a long time. We went to jazz school together. Like I know a bit about some of the music she's done, and I knew that like going into Americana and blues was somewhat of a new thing, at least as far as I knew, relatively new. And I had been playing with the Birds of Chicago, who are like very much steeped in the Americana stuff, and I had like just fully kind of committed myself to that style and just sort of fell in love and found my expression. So with what we were doing with this collaboration, I think it was like we had this idea of this kind of Americana soulful, like really intentional, beautiful sound, like of Americana and roots music, but like wrapped in this really atmospheric, ethereal sounds, kind of more produced, like more spending more time in the studio. So rather than like more of a live album, which I like, we love live albums. We'll make live albums again in our lives, but this was like very much like almost like using the studio as an instrument and spending a lot of time on the orchestration of the parts and thinking about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dion, anything else for you in terms of your intention besides the Juno nomination and working with the best people?
Not that that's like the end all and be all of my life, but yeah, I mean, like going back to what Joel was saying, the idea of putting out a concept album and really having that idea in mind, and then thinking about how we could produce the sounds that I was kind of hearing in my head, and also be truthful with the lyrics that I was going to be bringing forth. So it was a really great collaborative experience.
Let's focus on the song Down the Bloodline, which I understand was one of the first songs that you collaborated on.
Mm-hmm.
And this song is about Isabella Baumfree, who changed her name to Sojourner Truth. And she's a Black American woman who was born into slavery at the turn of the 19th century, but escaped into freedom. And she was an abolitionist and equal rights activist, and known for giving the speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Dion, what drew you to write about this time in history through the lens of Sojourner Truth?
So at that time I was just starting to delve into Black history and delve into my history, specifically with my roots as a Black Canadian. And I really wanted to experiment with the idea of writing the blues, but making it modern and making it a little bit more accessible. I think, and I can only speak for my experience, that when you hear of the blues or you think of the blues, like it has a very old sort of feeling to it. And it does, because it is steeped in history. But there's a way that I wanted to make it a little bit more forward and a little bit more modern sounding and authentic to my experience. So with writing about Isabel Baumfree, I love her story. I connected with her being an abolitionist, being a women's rights activist, being Black, being female, like all these crazy things that I am as well. And well, I'm not an abolitionist, really.
I was going to say.
Maybe I am in my mind.
I have pictures that prove that wrong.
Maybe that's what I think of in my head. But yeah, writing songs that have a modern feel, but about history, like coming from a historical point of view. So, like when Joel and I started talking, he had this really cool sample, like not even a sample, but it was more like an idea, like a musical thought. And I'm sure he'll go into more about the inspiration of that, but it really was kind of a simultaneous thing that happened with him bringing that music forward and me learning about history and deciding to kind of move forward into a new direction.
Right. And so, Joel, when did you start working on the song? And if you want to play an example of
sure.
anything.
Yeah, sure. I love what you're saying, Dion. Like, I mean, even now that I find that so inspiring, like, I feel like we could do another album. Like, it's like for me, I was thinking about like my early learning experiences on music, and like I was learning piano, and I remember like just going through the book and hating it, but there was some dumb blues like song at the end. It was like Rockin' Rhino. I was like 9 or whatever. And it was just that sound was just it for me. Like, and it kind of still is. It's just, it's something so deep for me. I can't totally explain it, but the idea of doing like having some blues and then also doing like a modern take on it, it's like fantastic. So the history of sort of my part in the song is I did this, went to the harbor front. I saw a bunch of amazing bands from Mali, and if anybody has ever seen those guys play, guitar is a big part of it, and when I was listening to them play, I was hearing what I felt were like the roots of the blues. They were playing kind of similar-ish rhythms, like the 6/8 six pattern rhythm, but it was so fresh and new. Whereas like in the West, I feel like I've heard of a lot like dun 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 dun, and it's kind of hammered out. There was like this lightness and this sort of hipness that I found really inspiring. So yeah, I can show you sort of what I wrote soon after. This is, I called it Molly Resonator, and I sent it to Dione. So this is the rough demo of what
what year was this, Joel? Can you tell us what year?
This is 2015, if you can believe it. Yeah.
2015.
So I'll play a little bit of what is then titled Molly Resonator.mp3. So you can hear kind of where it's going. It has the resonator guitar, has the banjo in there, and it has that drum loop that Dione was talking about.
Amazing.
That's great. I'm so glad that you still have that and that you could play it for us. Let's talk a little bit more about the musical influences in the album. And Dione, you have a background in jazz, and this album is blues. But there's also a strong gospel element. And it made me think about your early experience in music, in the church with your father, a pastor, and you learning organ at age 4. Mm-hmm. Did you knowingly draw on that early time in your life, or did it just kind of come out?
I think it kind of came organically. I didn't at the beginning really quite understand the relationship between jazz and blues and how I wanted to make it my own. Like, of course, I understand all music is rooted in blues and in African-American history. But for me personally, growing up in Regina, it wasn't really in my head. That wasn't part of my experience with growing up. So when we started to think about this particular album and stylistically, it just kind of happened organically, like, especially when you talk about songs like Workin' and Spirit, those songs definitely have a certain backbeat to them that is reminiscent of the church music that I grew up listening to. Church music has changed a lot, by the way. I've learned this because I don't really go to church right now, but like the church music that they play now is a lot of, it's a little bit more kind of contemporary, like, the same chords. But the music that I grew up listening to were more choruses. And so like very much in the blues idiom. So repetitive words, repetitive ideas, and like a very strong backbeat. And the tambourine is huge. My dog is like grabbing it. Sorry. Go. The tambourine is like a huge part of the sound, and especially with my prairie blues sound, because like that was like, we didn't have drums when I was at our old church. So all the rhythm that you hear and that you felt came with hand claps and with the tambourine. So you'll notice that, like, even when I'm performing on stage, like I always have my tambourine, and that's like a very true thing to me and to my sound and to the prairie blues sound.
It's a lethal weapon.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. And Joel, did you want to play? No, it's great. And Joel, did you want to play a little bit of Workin' so that we can get a little?
Sure. Here's a little clip from Workin'.
Yeah.
Serving, praying, living a quiet, humble life. All those pretty promises of eternal paradise. I gotta work twice as hard before I die. You got me working all night long. I know you got me working all night long. You got me working all night long.
That feels
Yeah,
good.
you can really hear what you're talking about there, Dion.
Yeah, I mean, like if you've never been to a Pentecostal, apostolic, black or white church, like a Southern gospel church, this is the sound that you will hear in a traditional church, like the backbeat, the hand claps, the the choruses. You know, it's very lively and very alive. So I'm really proud of that song specifically because I really think that we captured the sound. And Lyle and Joel and Mark. I mean, just the best players ever. So I'm very happy with that song.
It's fun
And have
to,
you received? Oh, go on. Go ahead, Joel.
well, it's fun to kind of listen to that and then, listen to you, Dion, because it brings me back to the studio. And, Dion and I went in with all these demos and like a pretty clear idea of what we wanted. But, in the studio with like Dion says, with Lyle and Mark, like Dion really led that energy. It's very infectious. Like I was saying before, like that tambourine is a lethal weapon. And, any drummer who's worked with Dion knows that tambourine is the boss, So, you can hear the hand claps and yes. Yeah, that was just, it was such a joyous song to record in particular.
And I want to let you know that is the only vocal take, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Did you remember that?
I didn't. I love it. I mean, a lot of the takes are,
I'll tell you why I remember, because we talked about doing like a comp, and then I was like, no, like this is such a special song. Like I want the energy to be authentic. And so that's one complete take. That's one vocal take.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, heard it.
Incredible. Incredible. And have you received feedback from your family or people from the church community that you grew up about the song working or the rest of the album?
I've heard from my family. They actually really love the album. My mom loves the record. She loves Spirit. She loves the lyrics in that song. But yeah, like my family's very supportive and they really respect what I do. And I love the relationship that we have right now. It's really special.
Joel, is there anything else about the musical influences you want to get into or about the sonic elements?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought it would be cool to show the progression, just going back a step to Down the Bloodline, to kind of show the progression of that song, how it started in, you heard the demo, and I think it would be fun to show like where that evolved, because there's a bunch of other elements involved, like as that song evolved, and I think it'd be cool to show if you'll humor me. So,
yeah, that'd be great, and then we
awesome.
can hear it, we can see.
So I'll start at the beginning again, and starts the same way. The resonator. There's a little bit of acoustic guitar that comes in. Banjo. Violin, which is a new addition. V3. Bass. Drums. So that's the core of the sounds, but I want to highlight some of this violin stuff, particularly in the middle, which I think is so cool. This is Jessica Deutsch on violin, and she added this, just talking about influences. She has a lot of experience playing like Arabic music, and she added these cool little touches. I'll play solo, then I'll show it in the context as well. Play that in context.
Crusader and champion.
I can hear my child crying.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute.
And I'll just play the end with that I think is a really cool part too. This is the violins again, and the inspiration for this was really Bollywood. Like I remember hearing some Bollywood scores, and all the violins were in unison or octaves. So I got Jessica to play this line. It's kind of like sounds like a 007 kind of line, but it's meant to have a Bollywood sort of influence. This is the reprise of the song at the end. Yeah, so that song, like it's that feels like to me like it's the blues, but it's something kind of very mystical or I guess contemporary. So yeah, it's cool to listen back to that and listen to all the parts.
That's great. Thanks, Joel, for going through all that. And I apologize for
No worries.
the little interruption. New mom, could not help myself. And
Don't worry.
didn't realize we're all together.
I just wanted to add,
Yeah.
when Joel was, Oopsie, stop. When Joel was talking, about adding the violin to the track, I was kind of like, oh, what is he going to do with that? And then when he played the sample and Jessica played it, and I heard it along with the track, it really brought it to like another level. Like it was already a really great sounding song, but I, like Joel said, like it really brought it to another mystical, very magical place that really was like kind of a launching pad, a launch off to water and to, like that soundscape. So it's really cool what he did there with that. So thank you.
Before we go, Dione, tell us why this album and the narrative that it tells was important for you to make now. Its relevance in the context of the recent past, especially the Black Lives Matter movement and other social justice movements. Why now?
Well, it was actually made a while ago, but I really wanted to put it out in March. That was our original idea. And then, of course, COVID happened. And so we kind of, sat on the album and we didn't really know what to do because we knew we had a really special project, but we also had no idea at that time what was going to happen in the world.
And when you say, I mean, it was still made within the last kind of 5 years. Like
it was made in 2019. Like it finished, like we didn't finish mastering till 2020, till February.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the songs are important because they're timely. I really feel like the Prairie Blues sound is a very modern sound and it's a very forward thinking sound. And I love that it's rooted in Canadian blues, Canadian Black blues specifically, which is very important to me right now. Establishing that sound and inspiring other people to also write in this style and in this sound. And so I hope that people who hear the record and hear my music and hear Joel producing, that they'll feel inspired to write as well in this Prairie Blues sound, because it's so important and it's so necessary. I believe all lives and all voices deserve to be heard, not just American voices, but Canadian voices have important things to say as well. Globally, I think that we're all really coming into our own and having the courage to speak and to sing and to write in your own way, and authenticity is very important. So I'm just so happy that we got a chance to release this in 2020, which is great because it started so terribly, but man, what an ending. I'm so happy.
Thank you both so much for this. It's been a really great conversation. Spirits in the Water is Dion's latest Juno-nominated album, and we will be watching those awards May 16th, which is also her birthday.
Yay.
She's giving away an autographed copy of the album, and if you're interested, you need to post something on Instagram or Twitter about what you think of the album, and you'll be entered into a draw. Just use the hashtag #SpiritsDraw. And that's a great offer. So that's a signed album. You can find Spirits in the Water at dionetaylor.com. You can reach Joel at joelschwartz.ca. If you have any questions about remote recording or anything you heard in the conversation, please send them to info@joelschwartz.ca. My name is Arianne Robinson, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, Arianne. Thank you, Joel.
Arianne.
It was so fun.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. We'll play it.
Bye.
We'll play Down the Bloodline on the way up.
Okay.
Great.
Sign of the law, no more separation, independence for all. But then her master schemed against it all, running and running and running down the line. She left her family and her happy home, just a sojourner, always wandering alone, always found refuge in a tribe of her own, running and running down the line, running and running and running down the line. For freedom, just passing through. Ain't I a woman? She challenges you. Running and running down the line, running and running down the bloodline. The blood